One of the most interesting mysteries about the PlayStation 1 version of Driver, but specifically for the American box art, was that there exists a picture of what appears to be a Buick GSX in a yellow livery that's in the Miami city that is nowhere to be found in the final game. Many people wondered as if it was a bit of a hidden car, like you had to do something to kind of be able to get access to it. But as the years went on, that apparently did not seem to be the case. The thing was, though, European players did not see this car in the back of the box art. But in the official PlayStation UK magazine, Euro Demo Disc number 43, there existed this video demo of Driver for the PS1. And, as you're about to see here, there it is, the Buick GSX in the same yellow livery. As it turns out, this car was being used first during early development and was probably going to have been the car that would have been used in the final game had they decided not to change for it, instead using a black Buick Skylark. Now, I'm not entirely sure if they had to change that for licensing reasons, especially because the car isn't really licensed to begin with, it's just based off the look, or if they felt that the Skylark design was just a nicer design to use rather than the GSX. Now, I personally have always preferred the GSX over the Skylark, so for me, I would have preferred to have this, but hey, I still like the Skylark in this as well. So for years, people have wondered, was there ever at any point in the game that this car, in any build, was supposed to be playable? Now, in 2014, 2 years ago, Driver Madness forum user Soap went through the files of the EXE that's used for the Driver rolling demo here. And what he discovered was that there actually was coding to allow the player to have control of the car. And you're about to see that right now. Here it is. Now, you also may be noting that I'm not using the widescreen for this one because the widescreen doesn't look particularly as good in the demo build. It was more refined in the final build, which is why I'm going with the not widescreen. Now, the one other thing I do have to keep in note here, this may just be an emulator thing, but it is a little bit glitchy. It sometimes tends to freeze. I've noticed it tends to freeze if I go in this direction, so we're not gonna go that way. So because of that, let's instead just go forward. You also notice the police are, for some reason, up below the ground and will never chase you. They don't go anywhere, and basically you can kind of cruise around at your own leisure to be able to try out the Buick, the car that almost was early on in the game, but never turned out to be. Now, my thoughts on this is that I find that the demo build here handles a little bit better. The car doesn't tend to slide around as much, and generally, for the most part, it's just a lot more easier to get the hang of and use. Now, thankfully, it only really seems to be that one major spot I've noticed the freezing, because I can pretty much drive a lot of other places without it freezing like this. I also stayed quiet for a bit so you could also hear that the engine sound of the car was different. It more resembled the sound clips that were used for the Mustang GT used in, of course, the classic car film Bullet, which has one of the best-known car chases to date. Now, one of the also interesting things about this Driver demo build is it allows you to see a early build of Miami when the level was kind of still being made. So as you can see in many of these areas, many of the actual levels or buildings aren't actually properly textured, so they appear as a glitchy mess. Another thing too is that the pedestrian AI aren't even designed to try to get out of the way. You can just basically drive through them. Again, likely because you were never meant to be the demo build wasn't really ever meant to go through them to begin with. But if you think it just ends here with being able to drive the car around with a couple maybe if you're not careful freeze spots, you'd be wrong. Of course, you can damage the car because the damage was designed even at this point in the game. Maybe with but if you may be noticing, the physics were slightly different too, not just in terms of handling, but the way what would happen if you bounced off a car or hit it. Your car would basically get a huge stun backwards force field reaction, and in many cases, depending on where you hit it, you could even potentially launch into the air. Now, this isn't particularly the best spot to show it off, but there is a better spot. In fact, see? Something like that. Now, you may be thinking, oh, I flipped the car. Wouldn't that mean I have to restart? Well, the person also figured out that there was a pause option for the game, which allows you to kind of just restart the game to basically restart you in a certain spot, restart the checkpoint, which is a little bit interesting because there are no major checkpoints, but it brings up a 0 of 6 thing, which is incredibly interesting. But we can also reset the car to put it back on its wheels like this. And yes, the car pretty much is on fire at this point. It shouldn't be moving anymore, but it is. But if you don't like the way of your car looking like a mess, you can also repair the car to basically restore it to its former glory. Now, the reason I thought I'd show this off is because I always considered this pretty interesting when I found out about this. I thought it would be pretty neat to show off, to show people that it actually was, that thanks to the modding community, it is actually possible to drive this car in the only known version of it existing. Also, an interesting thing, too, to note about the textures is that once you've gone to glitched areas, all the buildings kind of glitch up. It's strange and really doesn't make any sense, but hey, it is possible. Now I'm going to try to see something over here. There is, in fact, actually, if I can stop for one quick moment, here is the Miami area that you usually start at if you decide to go take a ride in the final game. Now, unfortunately, there's no traffic vehicle here, so I can't push a vehicle into a specific spot to really show off the whole being launched thing. There doesn't seem to be one spawning, unfortunately. Oh, there's one. Let's see if we can... Let's see... Oh, no, come back here. We're gonna push you. Now, it doesn't really take much to get the cars to stop moving, so... And yeah, you also may notice that damage physics were a little bit on the heavier side. It took... Like, I mean, sometimes it kind of made sense, and oh, hey, look at that, we managed to just launch that purple sedan. But yeah, basically, you can kind of see here that, well, due to the very strange nature of the physics, it's very possible to basically kind of launch your car around. It's very silly. In fact, if I can push this car into the place that I want to push it, I can... Oh, hey, actually, you know what? This upside-down purple sedan is a little... Oh. And it just crashed. Oh, no, it didn't. It just restarted. I didn't even know that was possible. Apparently it is. I'm going to up the frame limit a bit because the loading times in the demo were longer. Probably because it wasn't as well defined. They were still trying to optimize it and whatnot. So anyways. But that does help because I do want to show off another thing of Miami. Now, you may be thinking, okay, well, it just has a bunch of, it's mostly a bunch of glitches. What else could there really be else to show off apart from the whole physics? Well, there's also a bit of weather effects. For example, rain, which wasn't really well defined. As you can see, it just kind of makes everything darker and doesn't really show much rain effects. There is rain effects if you stop. But once you start moving, it kind of disappears, and you don't really notice it that much, so... And also, the textures isn't quite right when it comes to rain. The entire ground still remains bright, whereas everything else kind of gets darkened, so it doesn't quite look proper. Another thing, too... I guess maybe not. Okay, there is a bit of an interesting thing. But, okay, here I definitely know one will probably show up. At least I would imagine so. I'm trying to remember where exactly in the area that it shows it. But in a couple areas within Miami, there's actually a couple, big jumps. Now, I'm trying to, in this demo build, now I'm trying to find them, but I don't seem to be able to come across them, which is a bit strange, because I could have sworn these kind of spawned around this area. Then again, maybe I'm just wrong. Now, if you don't quite like the rain effect, which I don't, because it doesn't look quite proper, let's reset the car, you can also choose to have a snow effect, which keeps all the proper brightness and makes everything look the way it should. Now, I'm trying to remember where exactly these jumps are. I guess maybe I'm not in the right spot, because Oh, wait a minute. I know exactly where I'm going now, I think, at this point. So, let's actually see if we can get the ramps. I do want to show that off. Oh, and look at that. Even with the snow effect, it now looks more like a snow sky. I guess that's a little bit interesting. This is, I guess, a texture that was real. I don't know if it's ever seen in the final game. Oh, and apparently now I'm have the physical capability of going through walls. Or maybe just that wall. Maybe just that wall just doesn't, or that building just doesn't have any collision detection. All right, here we go. This is what I was looking for right here. This probably was done as a way. Oh, hello. Why am I suddenly in the cop car? Yeah, you can also kind of change camera angles to be in here, but yeah, you can kind of see it doesn't quite work out well, and it's already just restarted again. So, again, it is a demo, so you kind of can't really expect it to work very well. And also, we have some of these other camera angles, like this fixed zoom, where we can kind of just watch the car kind of sit around here. This camera, I believe, is used in the final game, but you can also alter the camera. If you use the select button and use the move around the joystick, you can actually kind of freely control the camera. It's pretty interesting, to say the least. Kind of like basically kind of like a debug camera in a way. I haven't really seen many other videos that show this off, but I was able to find this in a comment. I was first made aware of this when Matt J155 made a video about this, and it was also kind of also re-reminded of it not too long ago thanks to GamerSyn. Now again, the menu kind of goes a bit quick, and that's more than likely due to it's more than likely just due to the, what is it, I can't think of the word. I've completely forgotten now. Yeah, anyways, it doesn't matter. But yeah, we lost the sound. I don't know what's going on with that thing. It just completely disappeared, actually. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of fool around with this, because you kind of get all these things. But yeah, oh, right. It's moving so fast probably because of the 4X overclocking, which I just do because it makes it a little more solid with the frame rate and whatnot. It's just also interesting to kind of see the camera like this, because this is not possible. This definitely is not, as far as I know, is not possible in the final game. Being able to alter the camera like that. You can also delete camera change, but that doesn't quite, I don't think that quite does anything. And finally, there's also Pursuit, which basically kind of puts it back into the replay. So basically, what it actually is that you're seeing is the replay mode, but the cops still don't work even despite this, so it's a bit interesting. And then your cars can also stop it whenever you want. So yeah, that pretty much is for the most part going to do it, because, well, I pretty much showed off everything else that I can really show off. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed Driver. Honestly, I think it's a pretty good game. It kind of holds up for the kind of game that it is. I mean, it's not entirely perfect. There's a couple hiccups from here and there, but you know, I still think there is some interesting little tidbits about it that kind of made it better than some of the other games at the time. I mean, again, it's not perfect, but what else is perfect? So anyways, guys, if you want to follow me, you can on Twitter, you can at HGCentralYT. You can join my forum board at hgcentral.freeforums.net. You can donate to my Patreon if you want to support the account. It's not required, but thank you very much if you decide to donate. And as always, guys, thank you for watching, and take care.